Hi everyone, let's talk about interval notation. So all interval notation is a different way to show your greater thans and your less thans. And so what you gotta know is that when you use a bracket, so when you put something in a bracket that looks like that, that would be the same as equal to, or the dot. Okay, if you do something where you use parentheses, that's gonna equal like the whole. Okay, are they greater than or less than? It's best to do a few examples and I think it'll make sense. So here's a graph right here that's x is greater than 0. Okay, so it keeps getting big. So now it's a whole, so it doesn't include 0, so we're going to use a parenthesis. So whenever you see a whole, that's what the parenthesis is. That means it's not going to include 0. It's going to start at 0, that's the least. The left side is the smallest it can be. And then the right side is going to be the biggest it can be. Now, what's the biggest it can be? Well, it goes on forever, so we're going to just do an infinity sign, okay? And the infinity sign will always have a parenthesis because there's no actual point you're stopping. It can go on forever, so whenever you use infinity, you're going to use that. Now, let's take a look at this one right here. X is less than or equal to negative 3. Okay, well, I'm going to start on the left. What's the lowest it could be? Well, the lowest it could be, again, is infinity. And I'm going to go ahead and put the parenthesis because it could go on forever. But there's a hard stop at the 3, right? So on this one, I'm going to go comma, 3, and I'm going to put a bracket on that one. So that's just a way to say it goes on forever to infinity, but it's going to stop at 3. It's also really useful when you're doing your ands and your ors, your compound inequalities. So why don't I just write a couple examples up here, and we'll get back and just see if we can do it. I'll take it off the graph, and I'll show you what it looks like in just normal notation, and then we'll try it in interval notation. Okay, let's do it. And there we go. So I have 4 examples we're going to do, and I'll do them right here, and hopefully you can get them from this. But the best way to learn these is to do the practice sheets that I have. So go ahead and give those a try also, and I think you'll really understand. All right, let's go ahead and start from the beginning here. So I have a negative 5 and a 2, and this is one of the in-between ones, okay? So this would be one of the and problems, okay? Well, what's the smallest x is going to be? The x can go to negative 5, and there's no equal sign, so I'm going to go whole negative 5, because that means it does not include negative 5, and that's a parenthesis, comma, what's the highest it can be? 2, and it's got the equal sign, so that's going to be a bracket. So that's how we would change that, okay? Now here I've got 2 equations, so what are we going to do? Well, on this one, when you have the or, just like you have 2 equations here, you're going to have 2 of the interval notation. So let's just start with this one. X is greater than or equal to 3. Okay, well, x is greater than 3, so the smallest is going to be 3. So I'm going to go 3, comma, infinity, right? So 3, comma, infinity, that's a weird looking one, I'm sorry about that. But x is greater than or equal to 3. So this one, it can be equal, so I'm going to do a bracket. And if it goes to infinity, well, it's never going to be equal something, so that's going to be the parenthesis right there. Okay, and then I'm going to write a comma. You can write or, but a comma works well also. X is smaller than negative 2. So you're going to have negative 2, but the answers are all smaller, so that's going to be your infinity right there. Okay, and we always do a parenthesis, comma, the greatest it can be is negative 2, and there's no equal sign, so that's going to be a parenthesis as well. Okay, let's go to this one. This one's pretty self-explanatory. X is greater than negative 2, just a little bit opposite from there. All my answers have to be larger than negative 2. So negative 2 is going to be my smallest. My biggest is going to be infinity. And then I just have to take a look at this right here. Infinity always has a parenthesis. It does not include negative 2, so it gets a parenthesis as well. And lastly, x is smaller than, less than, or equal to 5. So all my x's are going to be smaller than 5. So because my x's are smaller, 5 is going to be my largest, and infinity is going to be my smallest because it could go on forever, okay? And then I just got to figure out how I'm going to put my little brackets. The 5, it can include 5, so I want a bracket there, and I want a parenthesis there, okay? So hopefully that helped you to see a different way that we can write inequalities, and go ahead and do some problems on interval notation.